And I think it's important though we don't have a goldfish memory, and we should we should be honest and reflect on the medical establishment. And I'm going to tell a little story about my experience with the medical establishment, and realize these people are not to be trusted. Trust is earned, and I'm all for forgiveness, but let's not confuse forgiveness with forgetfulness. Let's not confuse authority with trustworthiness. Right? So I was in a bad car accident a few years ago, and as a result of the car accident, I couldn't walk for a year. And I get pulled out of the wreckage of the car, go to one hospital. Hospital doesn't want to deal with me because the extent of my injuries. So it's they just leave me in pain. They and they didn't even put splints on my broken bones or anything like that. So my mangled leg is just swelling up. And it's kind of crucial time to get me the help I need before the soft tissue swells up to where it becomes really hard to work to do the emergency surgery I need. So the hospital decides my injuries are too extensive for them, so they send me to the premier trauma ward in the state, which is Harborview, here in Seattle. I get to Harborview. They rush me into emergency surgery. I'm in surgery for I think it was like 10+ hours, and I wake up in a hallway with the rod sticking out of my leg, and I wake up, and before the nurse comes by, gives me a dose of fentanyl, and then 25 milligrams of oxycodone, Tylenol, and I think they waited about half a day before they start putting me on the muscle relaxers. So I'm on 25 milligrams of oxycodone every 3 hours. So as I fade in and out of consciousness, they'd wake me up every 3 hours to put me on the oxycodone, no matter if I was sleeping, no matter if I was in pain. And in each 3 hours, they would give me another dose of fentanyl. And then, it took about 3-4 days before I had a room. I was in the hallway. It took about half a day before I got into a post-op overflow, which was kind of like just a big room with about 20 plus other people. And then a couple more days after that, I ended up having a room where I shared with someone else. Hospital's overcrowded. Hospital. These hospitals, definitely overcrowded. And, that's what I was saying. Oh, yeah, pain management. They're waking me up every 3 hours, 25 milligrams of oxycodone, the muscle relaxers, fentanyl, Tylenol. And this goes on for about 3 weeks. I have another surgery. I'm in the hospital in the trauma ward for 3 weeks. Every 3 hours, fentanyl, oxycodone, muscle relaxer every 6 hours. And I lose over 20 pounds of muscle mass. At the time, I was training for a fight. I was in peak physical condition. I didn't have any fat to lose. So to lose 20 pounds at that stage was not good. Can't eat because you don't want to eat because the oxycodone, the opioids, sedate your gut, and so you become constipated, and you can't process food, and it's very depressing. This psychological, it's all very traumatic, and finally, I go home. I'm so weak I can't even sit up. I can't sit up. I remember trying to get on some crutches. Going a few feet on crutches. I had to stop and take a break. And I get home, immediately get off the oxycodone, and start taking cannabis for my pain management. Get off all the pain meds, this and that. I went through withdrawals. Took about 3-4 days for the cold sweats and to get the heroin out of my system, the opioids out of my system. And I felt better. I started doing sit-ups, one-legged squats. It took a couple weeks before I could do before I was starting moving around again relatively well. I go back into the next surgery about a month later from that one, third surgery, because we were waiting for the soft tissue swelling to go down to do the third surgery. And this time I went in, I brought some edibles, some cannabis edibles. And I wake up from the surgery, another 10 hours in surgery, and I refuse the pain meds. I'm in pain. I'm in a lot of pain, but I refuse the meds. And the doctors, the pain management group came in, they're screaming at me. They're yelling at me, saying they were going to force feed me, if I didn't comply. I told them I didn't want the pain meds. I'm doing fine. It's empty threats, but they're, here I am trying to advocate for my health, and they have this protocol of just for pain management is to feed you these opioids. And I couldn't tell them I was taking the cannabis, these cannabis edibles for my pain management because it's illegal. It's illegal in the hospital. And, I was home the next day. I went home the next day. Started doing pull-ups. I'm all cut up, but it's just my legs all cut up. My gut was fine. I wasn't sedated. I wasn't drained. And, and started working out. And, I had 2 more surgeries after that. And which they didn't want to do any of those subsequent surgeries that I needed. And I haven't gotten all the help I needed with my leg. But, when I got this injury, the literature and everything I've read about it is that people with this type of injury have a quality of life that it's worse than someone who's dying from AIDS. And because it is the amount of oxycodone they gave me when I left the hospital was 6 months supply of 25 milligrams every 3 hours. So you gotta look at someone gets this injury, a pilon fracture of the tibia, fibula, complete destruction of your ankle joint. They sedate you, and it was killing me. Their pain management was killing me, and I could see, and the push I had to make to get myself strong enough to move around my house on crutches was a real hurdle. It required a lot of discipline of just relaxing, understanding that I have all day to make this happen, I was lucky that as being a martial artist and being an intellectual and interested in philosophy and the human experience helped me navigate this experience and advocate for myself. But I could see a lot of people getting this injury and then fading out into obscurity in a sedative trance, and dying 20 years later from, opioids and this and that, or whatever, So, I tell this story because it's not that the doctors don't know that cannabis is more effective pain management than the opioids. They know this. It's not rocket science. They know this, but they push the opioids because of the system. We all know this. And so remember, these people, when I say these people, the medical establishment and the pharmaceutical interests that control, and those pharmaceutical interests control our media, who corrupt our politicians, have created this war on drugs. Their interest is not in your happiness or in your recovery. Their interest is control, in power, in money. In my opinion, in that order. So we have to constantly advocate for ourselves. You have to advocate for yourself. No one else is going to advocate for you. Alright. I wanted to share that little perspective of mine.